The producer is the backbone of U.S. agriculture, and the same can be said for the rice producer and the U.S. rice industry. Amplifying the producer's voice and priorities is of utmost importance if the U.S. rice industry is to succeed. As is the case in other commodities, producer and processor priorities are often similar but not always aligned. Thus, maintaining a strong producer-focused organization is key to a strong U.S. rice industry. For nearly 3 decades, the U.S. Rice Producers Association, the only national rice producers organization comprised by producers, elected by producers, and representing producers in all 6 rice-producing states, has done just that. Hi, I'm Tommy Turner from El Campo, Texas, and I've been involved with the U.S. Rice Producers Association for almost 15 years. And today I'm here with 2 fellow board members.
My name's Alex Clark. I'm a rice farmer from Southeast Missouri. I farm with my family, where I've been farming for a little over 20 years and involved with the USRPA for over 15.
I'm Mark Pousson, a producer in Southwest Louisiana, and a member manager of the South Louisiana Rail Facility, also a USRPA board member for 6 years.
I think we can all agree that maintaining a strong producer-focused organization is key to a strong U.S. rice industry, and that's part of what got us involved and kept us committed to the U.S. Rice Producers Association over the years. The USRPA's strategic priorities, domestic and international market development, maintaining our strongest markets while also facilitating trade in new emerging markets around the world, advocacy, giving the U.S. rice producer a voice in legislative and governmental affairs in Washington, D.C., and industry expertise, providing market expertise and information to producers and the general public, while also supporting U.S. rice research efforts to ensure that we raise the best crop possible. Let's talk about market development. Mark, would you talk a little bit about your experience in working with the USRPA and how you have seen that partnership allow your operation to grow?
The relationship with USRPA has allowed a personal and our South Louisiana Rail Facility organization additional opportunities throughout the Western Hemisphere with networking at the RMTC conference, the MAP programs, the reverse trade missions, all that USRPA administers. And with these relationships that we're building, it's gained additional bottom line to the producers we have in Southwest Louisiana.
It's all about connecting buyers and sellers. Really, it's about how the U.S. rice producers cultivate all those relationships and then turn that into value for a producer like ourselves. We've seen both direct and indirect opportunities in Southeast Missouri. I expect those to continue and grow in the future. I mean, in the last, several months, even through harvest, we've been fortunate enough to have several trade missions in and out of our area, and I even hosted one on my own farm. So it was interesting to meet with buyers from all across the globe. These were particularly from Colombia. Get a little bit of their perspective, what the buyer wants, so we can offer the customer what they want in the end and be, facilitate new sales.
Yeah, from Texas, one of our major markets is northern Mexico, and it wasn't that long ago that we didn't have that market. But I remember USRPA staff and board members going down to Monterey and working with the customers there and talking to them about how we IP our rice and the quality of our rice. And if they could buy rice from us, they would have a better milling process and a better product in the bag. And through the USRPA's efforts, now northern Mexico is one of our largest markets in Texas. Let's turn to advocacy. Farming has always had its challenges, but what is it about today's challenges that make it so important that the rice producers represented and advocated for?
So the representation that USRPA gives us on the Hill in D.C. for disaster programs with weather issues, trade markets, market access programs through USDA, reverse trade, having USRPA in front doing that continues to keep those opportunities with us.
Right now, farmers are faced with a lot of difficult decisions, I think, in their day-to-day operations. Advocacy right now is extremely important, that we are telling our side of the story to the policymakers and those that may be making whatever regulations are coming down to the pipe, making sure that those are centered and producer-oriented so that, we can all be profitable. We're faced right now with all kinds of different challenges, whether it be high interest rates, seed availability, seed costs. Inflation has just wrecked the rural economy in a lot of ways. Our farmers are over-leveraged, me included. We're faced with a lot of challenges, and the best way to meet those challenges is just to tell our story, I think, and having a group like the USRPA where we can present them with our needs and match that with the policy that we need to get things done. Just for example, we had a safety net and now we're in jeopardy of losing that. How do we strengthen that safety net from here? And just getting all of our producers together, getting us on the same page, trying to figure out how to solve these difficult issues is where really the USRPA excels, because it's producer oriented. It's our focus, our goals, and telling that story to those who need to hear it.
A great addition to that is a couple of years ago, one of our producers was starting to use a drone. And when he went through the permitting process, he found out it was very long and tedious, and a lot of it pertained more to an aerial applicator than a farmer with a drone on his farm. And I remember when we were in D.C. that year and him talking to congressmen and senators, it wasn't that long, I think just a couple of months later, that they did make changes to the rules that made it more appropriate for farmers. And that's a great example of how boots on the ground are sometimes the best advocates for your needs. That's a good segue into another role that USRPA plays within the U.S. rice industry, and that's being a vital resource when it comes to industry and market knowledge. We have a weekly market update in our weekly newsletter, The Rice Advocate, and that's been a popular industry read for years now. And a lot of what our staff work revolves around is educating people from all walks of life about U.S. rice, whether it be international buyers or elementary kids in small town USA. What differentiates USRPA from other similar organizations?
Specifically, the Advocate gives a true feeling of what that buying culture is, the characteristics of what it takes for that market to revert back to the farm. Having that weekly update gives a feel of actually what's going on. USRPA brings to the producers market knowledge, market involvement, reverse trade missions, market access programs, the Rice Market and Technology Conference. A wonderful networking opportunity exists. Producers have an extensive opportunity to gain a lot of working knowledge of the markets that are out there and better access to those opportunities.
Just to expand on that, I mean, whether it be the Advocate, which we use on our operation, especially because, it's producer-led and producer-focused, and it's a weekly tool that has a credible source and has relevant information that we can use on our farm, whether it be market data or just what's going on in the industry week to week. It's a tool that I suggest anyone in the rice industry looking for the latest knowledge and the latest happenings to look into. But it's not just the Advocate. Mark mentioned the RMTC, Rice Market and Technology Conference, which is definitely one of the most revered conferences in the industry, and like he said, is a great way to network. Once again, connecting buyers and sellers, which is what this is all about, to make us more profitable in the end.
USRPA is, I think, one of the best organizations at doing trade missions and reverse trade missions. As you mentioned earlier, the buyers that are brought in for us to create relationships with, I know Mark has experienced that. There are big sales that come out of those experiences, those times together, and it's so important that we have this ability to interact with the buyers from the Western Hemisphere.
I value just being able to farmer interaction, just being able to have those meetings between ourselves. I learn from the two of you as much as I do anything about this organization, and I think that's also a lot of value in that.
The latest technology trends, latest marketing, whether it's an issue or an obstacle that is impacting the producer, down to the producer, we can all kick that around and try to figure out a way to work through that as a group together. What's best for all of us.
I know we're busy on the farm, and a lot of times the staff are contacted and say, hey, this is going on in D.C. We need your thoughts on this. And it's really important that we have that organization that's there doing things that we don't even think about. We're trying to get that crop in or trying to get a boat sold or something. So it's really good to have that organization have your back on things that may not be focused on at the time.
That's a great point, Tommy. I mean, think about all we have to do as farmers in our day-to-day operations. We don't have time to look behind the scenes. It's good that we have somebody that has our back, that can look for these various opportunities that exist out there in the market and try to create new relationships that we can expand on.
Yeah, I think about you, Mark, and how y'all have sold rice to many countries now. And think about when y'all first got involved with the USRPA, and you probably weren't even thinking on that grand of a scale when you got started, and knowing how they brought so many potential customers to you or worked through the final things to get you to be able to get the ball across the finish line in the very first deal.
Yes, Tommy, and to add to that, the business model was just to load rail cars, and because of the relationship of, in the beginning, traveling to Mexico, bringing Mexicans in and bringing us to throughout Central America, hosting the conference, And the networking that goes on there has allowed a business model that was going to load rail cars into loading vessels, loading barges. Now we have our own rice mill. We're exporting rough and milled both to domestic and international markets throughout Central America, the Caribbean, South America. The relationship that 10 years ago was just to load a train car turned into all of these different marketing opportunities for the producer, bringing that bottom dollar closer to reality for the producer on the farm.
And to tie that to Missouri as well, all the rice that's moved out of this country and moved into our domestic markets is rice being put on the market that's leaving the farm, making it more profitable for us. You know, it's simple supply and demand. If we're moving rice, we're making money. That should be the goal. And every time that we're able to, Mark makes a sale, or you make a sale in Texas, or we make a sale in Missouri, in fact, someone in Arkansas or Mississippi or up and down the Delta, just being able, you know, to move that rice, it helps us all in the long run.
I agree. You know, we're producers, but we understand we need to move rice on all farms. You experienced it firsthand now, because you never know what year it's going to be the more advantageous way to market it. I think you can talk about that a little bit this year, Mark.
Actually, every year, because of USRPA's guidance, we've gone from the rail logistic market, the vessel logistic market, barge loading logistics, milled or patty, all of those opportunities developed with those relationships with USRPA through RMTC. We're working on a tremendous order right now that is simply because of the networking at RMTC. Without that, that sale would not be going on today. USRPA hosted a roundtable with a customer this summer, and we're actively fulfilling that order today.
I think it's thoroughly impressive what you guys have done there and put together, and I think it really defines what the USRPA is all about, really. I mean, it's what you've done is put together a bunch of farmers who had an end goal and have just surpassed that in so many ways. It's really exciting to watch you guys grow and what you're doing, and it's inspiring to us up north to want to do something similar to what you guys have done.
With that, the alliance with USRPA is how that is possible. Without USRPA, none of this would have happened. And I very clearly can say that.
That's about as good a compliment as you could give.
None of this would be going on. And now you've got a substantial percentage of the Southwest Louisiana crop leaving every year in some form or fashion. But again, back to the relationships of the networking or the trade servicing or the MAP funding, all administered through USRPA. I was scared to death the first time I went down to Mexico, and now it's Central America one week, Washington the next.
It makes me think about when I first started to get involved. When I talk about what USRPA does, I'm president of Texas Rice Council, so I do a lot of talks in Texas about what we do with our checkoff dollars. I'll have a farmer go, well, I market my own rice. There's a big difference between marketing and market development. I'm much more able to talk with those people about, you know, I appreciate that you talk with an exporter or with a sales office or whatever, but this is talking about bringing those buyers here so they experience Texas and they experience how we IP our rice and the quality of our rice and showing them how we can provide exactly what they want. So, you know, learning the difference between market and market development is same simple, but it's a big deal.
And it's up and down the value chain. Also, you know, it's the shipping, it's the logistics and the relationships which we've talked so much about. You know, Mark knows better than anybody about having credit maybe, or a lot of facets I couldn't speak intelligently on, but as a farmer, I know those things are valuable and I know those things need to be in place, and that it all comes back to our advocacy. And I know that you gentlemen have worked as hard as anyone to push the industry in the right direction for the farmer, and that's important, I think, for us as a whole.
Any rice that leaves the country is good for all of us, so we can help each other be better at moving rice out of the country.
That's a good point to make, that we all have our regional issues, and that's another reason having this national organization kind of ties us together in a way to figure out, well, if your region that has that issue and we have this issue, how do we work together to create solutions to our problems?
Yeah, when we talk about as a whole, numerous times we'll run out of inventory because of a smaller scale in our region, but we can reference the buyers on the river or what's going on in Texas with the Port of Houston to give those buyers still that opportunity to go find that market.
And there's things in Texas that you all do well, and there's things in Missouri that we do well as Arkansas or Louisiana or wherever you may be. So maybe there's a variety that some buyers looking for that grows better in a certain area of the country than others. So it's important to have organizations like the USRPA who recognizes those differences and can point those buyers in the right direction also.
If you could describe the impact U.S. Rice Producers Association has made over the past 3 decades in a single sentence, what would it be?
Unfortunately, we haven't been aligned with U.S. rice producers that long, but because of the previous 20 years, we needed to do something. That something was joining with USRPA. And so the last 10 years have given us ample marketing opportunities that have increased our bottom line.
For me, it's that the U.S. Rice Producers has been the leading organization when it comes to trade, policy, promotion for the last 3 decades. And I think it's those relationships that they've built that will continue to make it a leader in the future.
Well, there's been many impacts that USRPA has made over the last 3 decades. The 2 that come to mind to me are, one, just the advocacy. They advocate for rice being sold in all forms. The milling side is important. Selling rough rice is just as important, and that's something they've done. Mark, you've seen that firsthand. They're ready to support selling rice in any form. The second thing is, they advocated for when the first free trade agreement came out with the United Kingdom after USRPA was formed in 1997, was to ensure that some of the funds that are generated from the sale of rice through the free trade agreements comes back to the farmers. They pointed out that, farmers have checkoff programs and they do a lot of promotion. So instead of all of that money just going to one segment, a lot of it came back to the farmers, and that was used in research to make sure that we have new varieties, better techniques for how to grow rice or the inputs to use. To me, those are 2 big impacts that I've seen over the last 30 years with USRPA. And you can learn more about the good work the U.S. Rice Producers Association is doing at usriceproducers.com.